Hi, I'm Art Caplan. I'm at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Well, a recent report in the journal Nature raised a really interesting research ethics question that generated an analysis of let's say, intervention that was tried by a scientist to deal with her breast cancer. And it was accompanied by some discussion about the ethics of whether it's right to experiment on yourself. I think this has been a little bit misunderstood, but let me explain first what the scientist, Beata Halassy, who was at the University of Zagreb in Croatia, the scientist actually did. She discovered that she had breast cancer or was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020. And she had a mastectomy, but the cancer recurred at the site. She's a virologist, and she knew that there is work going on, and still is in many places, to use viruses to infect tumors to try and kill them. And she decided, since she knew something about virology as a virologist herself, that she didn't want to go through another round of chemo. That was horrible. And so she would try to brew up an oncovirus, as it's called, to treat the tumor. And the report, which, by the way, was outlined in a journal called Vaccines, basically said she self administered this and wound up and has now revealed that she has been cancer free for 4 years. Still, discussion broke out about two different topics. One, is it right to experiment on yourself? And is it right to publish her report in any journal? And I think what's interesting here is the discussion that I've read about this, I don't think is adequate or correct about the answers to either of those questions. First, self experimentation is something a little different from what she did. So, people self experiment. The classic case is Werner Forsman, German physician, 1929. He thought catheterization of the heart was something that was safe. At the time, many people felt you couldn't touch the heart or put anything near the heart, it would make you die. And he gave himself a little anesthesia in 1929 in his lab and inserted a catheter in his arm and winded it all the way to his heart. Now that's self-experimentation. You're doing that to demonstrate that something is feasible. You're doing it to generate knowledge. He didn't have a medical condition. He was trying to show that something could be done, that something very important and useful could be done. There are also cases of self-experimentation where somebody may say, I'm going to expose myself to a dangerous substance to show that it still might have curative powers. We have in the history of medicine people who are drinking bacteria to show that that might be the cause of gastric ulcers, and many, many other situations where people who aren't suffering from an ailment or a disease expose themselves to something in order to generate new knowledge. Now, remember, that's not what happened to our science friend in Croatia. She wanted to knock off the recurrence of her cancer. She wasn't trying to experiment to learn about anything. She was trying to save her own life. So I don't think this is actually well described as self-experimentation. I think it's described as a desperate attempt to prevent the reoccurrence of a cancer that might kill him, to save yourself. And that leads to the recognition that that's not something that you have reviewed by research ethics committees. There's no protocol here. She's not in need of declaring her conflicts of interest with respect to undertaking this because no one is funding her. This is a one off, desperate effort to try and prevent disease. I don't think there's any question that it's ethical to do it. And if she knows enough about how to try it and is willing to assume the risks of doing it, not only don't I think it's wrong to do it, I'm not even sure how you could prevent it, even if you felt it was wrong. People with special knowledge and access to special agents are going to be able to try things like this. Do we publish them? Well, obviously, from where I'm coming, this is a self case report. It's just like any other case report of something that's interesting to follow, and I don't see any big controversy about publishing it. Doesn't prove that it would work for others. Doesn't, in fact, prove that even if she's 4 years cancer free, it's something that we ought to shift to, or that the way she brewed up her viruses to kill her tumor is the best way to do it. But it's interesting, and it might encourage more work or more lines of inquiry, real research. So that's what case reports do. I don't think journals have to hesitate in publishing them because they worry that it's not adequately reviewed or it's going to get someone in trouble with research ethics committees. I think that's misconceived. So I hope this worked for her. I do think she was in a special position to try something that might benefit her. But the idea that what she did is somehow experimentation or research is just a confusion about what research is and what research ethics requires, something that didn't apply to her. I'm Art Kaplan at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Thank you for watching.